FFU, welcome back to the Devy Planet. I am the Devy Mastermind of the FFU, the Fantasy Football Universe, and I am here today with the dog himself. Gotta do the barking. My man Mike, how you doing, brother?
Good. How are you, man? I
Good,
love
good,
that
good.
intro. Rich
Glad
started doing that recently too, so I'm glad
there
people
we
are
go.
starting to catch on to it.
Yeah, man. It's all about the size of the dog. It's about the size of the fight in the dog, right? I think that's what
Mhm.
it is, something like that.
Yeah,
But no, man, always a pleasure bringing you on and talking football with you. Exciting things to come with the FFU that we're working on, behind the scenes. And as we're doing that, mocks are a part of that behind the scenes because we're trying to prepare ourselves for what we're seeing happening in mocks so we can give y'all the knowledge on what's happening in the mocks. And today I want to do a special episode where it's great my mock day. So Mike is joining me today with the pressure, I will say, of grading my mock. And full honesty here, this is a Devy first round mock, so only 12 picks in the Devy League, where he has not seen my draft picks. He has no idea what picks I am choosing in the first 12 picks. But these are guys where if they were there, I would consider taking at this pick. And Mike's gonna go ahead and grade them for us to see, yeah, that's a good pick. That's a bad pick. You're an idiot. Whatever it may be, he's here to tell me just where he's at in his mindset, and I'll go into some details about it as well. So, any
fair warning.
questions?
Fair warning. If Jeremiah Smith isn't the one, unless he's gone in this mock already, then we're gonna have. Then it's just you just might as well cancel the rest of the episode because there's gonna be a lot of bad words said. So,
Well, fair enough. In fairness, Jeremiah Smith, um,
yep, yep.
101. I
All
was
right.
gonna say he's not the 101 because he should be going before the 101. He should be doing that and making his things go. So that's something where it's like, all right, he's just the all-around natural talent. This is the main guy, Jeremiah Smith. If you don't know about him, you're not watching football. I mean, you kind of already said it. Great on number 101, Jeremiah Smith. Thoughts?
I listen, that's just the layup pick. That's the shack attack dunk right there. There's nothing stopping it. He's just all around. He probably would have been what, a top 8, top 10 NFL draft pick at this point if he was eligible to come out. He would be the number one wide receiver without a doubt, on my
Okay.
board. So yeah, you can't go wrong taking him there.
100%. And because of that, this is why I'm valuing 2027 picks pretty heavily, is because Jeremiah Smith is projected to come out in that draft class. He is going to be a top wide receiver, arguably the best all around wide receiver prospect we've seen. Granted, it's Ohio State, it's not LSU. And typically, your LSU wide receivers do a lot more in the NFL level than your Ohio State wide receivers. But Jeremiah Smith looks phenomenal. What he did his freshman year, it's only going up from here. And that's the 101. I think hands down across the board. I think that's consensus 101. And I'm gonna get spicy at 102 already with this next pick because I don't feel he might be the 102 a lot, but let's see what your thoughts are here. This is my 102 right now. Let's see who it is.
Mm. Hmm.
As Oregon's wide receiver, Evan Stewart, as my 102. What are your thoughts on him?
I love Evan Stewart, so I'm not against this pick at all. I'm glad he went back this year. I do think he showed some positives this year. He obviously wasn't the number one in Oregon. I think he has the opportunity now to be the number one. I think the Tez Johnson connection with Dylan Gabriel was just too much. But to me, Evan Stewart probably would have been in my top three, just based on like play skill wise. As a wide receiver, he would have been in my top three. So I can't get mad at you for taking him there. And again, it's the Oregon bias a little bit, so let's not forget that. But I'm a big Evans. Yeah, I'm a big Evan Stewart guy as well.
So here's my thought, Evan Stewart, because I know there's another, there's a wide receiver out of Alabama, Ryan Williams, who had a phenomenal year as a freshman as well. Evan Stewart is now the veteran wide receiver. He's been
Hmm.
in college football. He understands the system. I said last year that Oregon looked better when Dante Moore was under center than Dylan Gabriel. This was during the spring game last year. Dante Moore is now the quarterback. Dante Moore is going to move mountains with this offense. And now Evan Stewart is going to be their guy. There is no Tez Johnson. Granted, they have DeCorey Moore, who's a top prospect as well. But guess what? DeCorey Moore is going to have to wait himself. It's Evan Stewart. This is going to be him, and this is what he's going to do. He's going to be the wide receiver one. And I think he's about to have a great season, his breakout season, to put him as the wide receiver one of next year's class and make him one of the top prospects that you're looking at. So I have him as the 102 because of that. I think this is a great season for him. I understand Devy. I'm looking at right now. If I think a guy's going pro the following year, I want to take him because I feel heavy on them over than freshman. I said that even though Jeremiah Smith went one, Jeremiah Smith is him, so that's a whole different story. Really, we should have started at 102 because he's the guy. But
Mhm.
Stewart, I feel, is he's gonna do everything we want him to do, and this is the year. And Oregon is the perfect offense to unlock his full potential and see exactly what we see. But
If
enough. Go ahead.
the best case or the best film I would recommend anybody to watch for Evan Stewart is actually just go back to Texas A&M. I believe it was a year and a half ago, maybe, or a year ago, against Alabama when he was going up against Teron Arnold at Alabama. Watch that film. It is, first of all, he plays bigger than the size that he's listed at, in my opinion. So this is the capabilities that Evan Stewart could bring to the forefront when he has a really good quarterback and is the number one option in an offense. So I'm all aboard Evan Stewart as well.
Very nice, very nice. I said that was heated because I feel a lot of people aren't necessarily mocking him at 102 quite yet, but that'd be my 102 if I had it. I would be ecstatic.
Maybe it's a bit high, but like if I would take him at one anywhere between 1-2 and 1-5 because, like you said,
Yeah,
he's more than likely guaranteed to come out next year, right?
right.
We all thought he was going to, well, I thought he would come out this year, but it was a good idea for him to go back. You said in our hot takes episode at the beginning of this season, you thought he was going to end up going back. So it was the right move. So I have no problems taking him here or between here and 1-5.
Yeah, yeah. He might be able to get to 105. But yeah, at this point, it's like I just feel he's gonna be a top wide receiver next season with a better quarterback in his system. So it's just gonna be great for him to be there as
Mm,
well. Um, let's go here to our next one at 103. Let's see what we have.
okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mr. Garrett Nussmeyer, quarterback for LSU at 103. What are your thoughts on him?
It's a good pick. I think it's a very solid pick, a safe pick because this quarterback class. Um, I think he should come out next year. I don't think he has any more eligibility after this year anyway. He's probably right now the top guy, and they brought in some wide receivers to give him some help. It was Barry and Brown. Who else was it? There's another one
Nick
whose name is
Anderson.
Nick Anderson from Oklahoma. Yeah. So they brought in some deep threats, some big body guys, and let them air it out. I think it's good. I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, same reason. I think he's gonna be potentially hands down the QB1 of next year's class. He just looks phenomenal. He has a lot of it. It's a great move for him to stay there another year. They have a nice freshman running back last year in Caden Durham. They're bringing in another one in Harlem Berry. Barry and Brown, you mentioned it, as well as Nick Anderson are gonna be two hot prospects on him as well. This is going to be just a huge part for him. I think he's going to elevate and be one of those top 10 draft picks there for him. But yeah, LSU, I think Garrett Nussmeyer is going to be phenomenal. So at that point, if he can get the QB1 of next year, I would take him that early as well. Now,
For
this
sure.
one's going to be interesting. This one may shock you as well. My 104 is Ryan, but Ryan Wingo, wide
Oh
receiver from
wow. Okay.
Texas.
Yeah,
Um,
you got me with the RWs there. I didn't see that was coming. I didn't see that one coming.
so what are your thoughts taking Ryan Wingo over Ryan Williams?
I wouldn't have done it, but it's hard to argue the success of Texas wide receivers recently, right? And especially with, I think, is a major upgrade in Arch Manning coming in for Texas. So I can't be mad at it. I wouldn't have done it, but again, I think this is a solid pick. Just betting on um, the upgrade around him right now, and the wide receiver room has become more open now too.
Yeah. And really, it comes down to those wide receivers or the quarterback, excuse me. They're in Arch Manning going there. Alabama, still uncertain quite yet on who's going to be the full quarterback there. So we'll need to see. But I think I trust Arch Manning and Ryan Wingo. I think it's going to take the next step because it did get more open for him to be one of the top guys there.
Yeah,
So,
they
uh,
lost Bond right to the draft, Golden to the draft,
mhm,
and Jonte Cook transferred out.
right.
So yeah, the room's wide open now.
Now they are getting two freshman wide receivers in Khalid Lockett and Jamie French, two freshman wide receivers that look really good, top 10 and 247 sports. So that is gonna be big, but Ryan Wingo looked good in the opportunities he got last year. And I think we're only gonna see it more into this year as well. But speaking of Ryans, we'll go into 105 here. It is gonna be Alabama's wide receiver, Ryan Williams. Granted, the quarterbacks does scare me, but he's showing that he just sold off the talent last year, and I'm excited to see what he can do this year. But what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna play another trick on me. I thought there was another Ryan that I didn't. I was like, "You saving Private Ryan." I thought something was gonna pop up. Um, yeah, listen, this is the right pick. I watched him on the Jalen Milroe film that I've been watching recently, and it's pretty apparent to me that part of the reason Jalen Milroe is even in the second round conversation is because of plays Ryan Williams was able to make,
Oh,
especially catching
100%.
outside the frame and everything like that. He's
Right.
Jeremiah Smith is one, but I think you can make a case that Ryan Williams is not far behind.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I agree with everything you say there. That's why he is, top five for me there. Um, I think a lot of people do take him at two, but I love him. I think he's going to be a great prospect to continue to watch, continue to grow. It wouldn't surprise you if he ends up going somewhere else if he gets the opportunity outside of Bama. But we'll see. Depends how the quarterback play goes there. But let's speak about quarterbacks. Let's talk about SEC quarterback at my six. I'll show you here. As Florida quarterback DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway is my number one freshman quarterback. I love everything about him. Has the size, has the arm strength, the mobility to make plays. He's getting help in the wide receiver rooms as well. Just he's going to continue to grow and continue to develop. And I think you could get him early right now. So, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I like that pick. If he was able to stay healthy, I think Florida would have been obviously better off. He was a little banged up this year. Who's the other guy they have? The other quarterback who is
They
nowhere
had
near as good as Lagway.
they had Mertz, who
Mertz.
was
Yeah. I kept thinking Mannertz, but that's like the tight end. I forget from
mm,
somewhere, but yeah, Mertz is nowhere near the talent that DJ Lagway was. And I think Florida would have been in a better spot if Lagway was able to play the whole season. That dude is uber talented. I
right.
like that pick there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think he's only going to rise to the occasion, as we continue to grow. And we know what Anthony Richardson did, and he's a lot better quarterback than Anthony Richardson at a younger age, in my opinion. But
There's
we're going to
one
keep.
SEC quarterback that I would have taken over him, I think, but
Who's that?
we'll see if he's taken in this draft before I say.
Uh, he is not, because I do not have another SEC quarterback in this draft.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Who
Uh,
I
Lenore
think I know who.
Sellers.
Okay, Laura Sellers. I absolutely love the kid. What scared me, he's going to be the starter. What scared me is they brought in Aaron Nolan.
Okay.
And Lenore Sellers had his hiccups last year,
Mhm.
where if it comes down to the competition, does Aaron Nolan get shot? Chances are he's gonna sit behind the lower Sellers. But that does scare me a little bit where if short Sellers gets banged up and Aaron Nolan has to come in and he takes that spot, I think it's possible we could see that.
Mhm.
So I definitely agree with you there. Lenora Sellers would have been up there, but that ended up scaring me to say, okay,
That's a
I'm
fair
not sold on
argument.
this.
It's a fair
Um,
argument.
but
When
I
you've got a
do.
really quality backup, and when something
Right,
happens, you could easily lose your job. You know what I mean? So
right. And so I do love that, but yeah, that's what pushed me off because that would have been where he was at. Honestly, if Nolan didn't go there, I would have had Lenora Sellers up there. So I have him actually out of the first round, but I don't think a lot of mocks do. I think a lot of people do have him, but because of that, I pushed him out a little bit. Next one here, 107. Let's see who I take. Dante Moore, Oregon quarterback. I already spoke about him earlier. Any thoughts on him?
yeah, so I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on Dante Moore, the college quarterback, right now. I remember it was him and Malachi Nelson coming in their freshman years as the hot names. Dante went to UCLA, if I'm not mistaken, with Chip Kelly. Really didn't work out. And I blame a lot of that on Chip Kelly. So prayers to the Oakland or the Las Vegas Raiders, who now have Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Um, but I think Dante Moore, like I watched a little bit of his film before my Devy drafts, and I thought he was very solid. He has the bit of mobility. He has a decent size from what it appeared from, early on film watching. So this could be a good spot. And Oregon quarterbacks, you really it's a good gamble to take because whether they're going to get drafted, right, no matter what, it
Right.
seems like. So it's a good gamble to take.
Yeah, I absolutely think he could do phenomenal things, especially with a wide receiver like um an Evan Stewart, and as I mentioned, the Corey Moore going in there. Then they also brought Mekhi Hughes from Tulane, the running back. So I think the sky's the limit for him just to have phenomenal success. So I actually have him at the QB3 going into this draft right now. So that would be huge. But on the quarterback train, speaking about national championships and Jeremiah Smith, who's throwing the ball to him, it's probably gonna be Julian Sayin, the Ohio State freshman quarterback last year. This guy is very fluid in his movements. He knows how to throw from anywhere on the field, anywhere in his body. He has the right hip movement to make those plays happen. I absolutely love his game, and I think Jeremiah Smith and him are gonna have a phenomenal connection. But thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, again, Ohio State quarterbacks really can't go wrong at this point,
Yeah,
especially with the wide receiver talent they have.
for
Uh,
sure.
I think this is an even good C2C pick as well,
Okay.
in my opinion. My fear is, now that I'm thinking about it, do you have any questions about the offensive coordinator now in Brian in
All
Hartline
right.
as opposed to Chip Kelly?
No, because Hartline develops the wide receivers, so I think it's just
True.
gonna elevate it even more to say, okay, now I'm gonna elevate the quarterback. And he's gonna be able to reflect. All right, this is what I tell my receivers to do. This is what you need to do. This is the direct line. That's not me going to Chip Kelly coming to you. This is directly, this is how I do it. This is what they're doing. This is, he's hearing from the beast himself, I guess you can say, right? So, I actually think it's gonna elevate it even more, and he's gonna have better chemistry with his wide receivers than Howard even did, in my opinion.
Fair.
Um, but this is actually going on to 108. This is my only quarterback in this draft, or excuse me, my only running back in this
I was
draft.
gonna say, wait, we just talked
Yeah,
about
109. Sorry. But Nate Frazier, running back out of Georgia. What are your thoughts on him?
solid pick. Again, you're I feel like I'm helmet scouting on this one, but really can't go wrong with a Georgia back at this point. Although recently it feels like they haven't really been great at the NFL level. We'll see with Trevor Etienne, but now again that running back room is wide open now that Etienne is gone. I think that was a shock to a
Yeah,
lot of people. I felt because honestly, I felt like Etienne was staying. I
yeah,
know there was some off the field stuff with him, if I'm not mistaken, at the beginning of the year, so he didn't really get. He wasn't ready for the season, but again, this opens up a door for Frazier to completely take over. So we'll see.
yeah. No, I think you were talking about the running backs, not really doing as great. I think he's um the resurrection of the Georgia running backs because he has everything you want, right? He runs with power, he runs with speed, he runs with it all. So I think he's gonna just elevate, just continue to grow and continue to develop and just be that top running back for the Georgia Bulldogs, assuming he stays healthy. But I
Yeah,
think he'll be one of the top guys
he's
there.
gonna he's gonna get the dogs barking. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, there you
All right,
go.
good. There
There
you
you
go.
go. So I it would surprise me if you don't put the dog tag on him and say he's a dynasty, one of your dynasty dogs there. But I think I have great feeling for Nate Frazier. I think he's gonna do phenomenal. My last wide receiver at 110. Let's see who it is.
Okay.
Cam Coleman, Auburn, excuse me, Auburn wide receiver. Thoughts there?
It's a good pick. I think to me he was the wide receiver 3 in that class. Very solid wide receiver, very explosive, and played with probably the worst quarterback out of all these guys that we've talked about so far. Right?
Correct.
I think that's an easy assessment. I don't remember they brought in to Auburn to be the quarterback. I know there was a name they brought in, and I know it's a definite upgrade over Thorne, but it should be wheels up for him this year, right? So
Yeah,
I know they brought somebody in, but the name's escaping me.
I feel like you are. Oh, Jackson Arnold.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
I mean, it's again still should be an upgrade over over Thorne, but
yeah,
I mean, we'll see. Could this
yeah,
be the resurrection of Jackson Arnold's career? But
yeah.
again, that's actually not a bad spot for him either. Could go to Auburn? I mean, did he really go
Yeah,
down in that much competition? No, he went to the SEC, so it's a good
yeah.
spot
Yeah, he has a better wide receiver than he had at Oklahoma, right? So I
for
think it's an
sure.
opportunity for him to continue to grow. And like you mentioned, it's an upgrade for Cam Coleman, who already had a pretty good season with a mediocre quarterback there. So I mean, I think there's going to be great things for him to continue to grow. He's a solid wide receiver, knows how to get in and out of his routes, has some speed to him. It could definitely play to his strengths, which will be great. So I'm excited for him, and I think he's gonna be heavy in the drafts there for us as well. The 111, none other than Arch
About
Manning, Texas
time.
quarterback. Thoughts? I mean, speaking of that, I mean, where am I too late on him, or where do you think he normally goes? Because I do think he does have a hype train behind him in Texas,
Mhm.
so I don't necessarily think he goes as late as that. But for me, I felt those other four quarterbacks I took, Nussmeyer, Lagway, Moore, saying I have more faith in them to do great things. Where Arch Manning, it's kind of do or die for him. I took Ryan Wingo there. Arch Manning, I took him before him, but it's because I just don't know how much Manning will necessarily do for the offense outside of the weapons he has. But what are your thoughts there?
I think I would have taken him around QB 3 or 4. I think Lagway you can make a case for just because of the mobility and the upside.
Right.
I think Arch might be the safer pick
Yeah.
slightly. And the name value itself, I think if you were to try to move off from him, I think you'd still get more of a haul than you would for Lagway, no matter what happens, to be honest with you. I think
Right.
everyone's just going to see that Manning name and be willing to give up the farm. But I
Right.
do think he's a damn good quarterback. And, we see him come in for those running. What did he have? Like a 65-yard rushing touchdown this year
Yeah.
that kind of came out of nowhere. And I think he has the arm talent for it. Now, he's in a really good spot at Texas, right? With
Yeah.
How do you say it? I'm really bad.
Sarkeesian. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm terrible at names. It's a
Uh-huh.
Philadelphia issue. Um, but yeah, I think he's got all the upside in the world. But again, Lagway I think could be a difference maker, while Arch could be the safer option. So I would take him around that 3-4 spot over Moore and Nolan.
Same.
But again, I don't think you're crazy for taking those guys either.
Beautiful. I agree. I think the hype name will get to him, so he'll definitely be an earlier round pick. But again, for me, I had him at the 111 there. And rounding out the 12 picks here in the first round for me is going to be Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola. Just a guy that's continued to grow, and he may end up being the QB1 of the class when it's all said and done. He has that precision. He got some weapons to advance him as well. But what are your thoughts there taking Raiola?
Did they get Dane Key? Was that where he went?
Yep.
Okay, so I like that a lot for him. Um, he's the Mahomes Jr. Is that he's the guy that always ends up looking like Patrick Mahomes with the way he wears his hair, the headband, the taunts, and everything like that. Is that who I'm thinking of?
For Raiola, yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I do like Raiola, the quarterback. They lost Malachi Coleman too, a guy I really liked.
Yeah.
Um, a big play threat. But again, I think Dane Key is a good addition for a guy like Raiola, who's going to be a good possession wide receiver. So it could be wheels up for him as well.
And throw it down there for sure, for sure. No, and he saw that could stretch the field, and that's what Rayola can do best is just do the ball placement, get it down the field as well. So I'm excited to see what he's doing there and what he can make accomplish as well. But that's gonna be phenomenal for him. That's our 12 picks, in the first round. As I mentioned, it's just a quick grade my mock. I'm gonna show this mock here, and Mike, I want you to give me a grade on, just ABC. Just what do you think here? Let's go through it. Jeremiah Smith at 101. Evan Stewart at 102, Garrett Nessmeyer at 103, Ryan Wingo at 104, Ryan Williams at 105, DJ Lagway at 106, Dante Moore 107, Julian Sayin 108, Nate Frazier 109, Cam Coleman 110, Arch Manning 111, and Dylan Raiola 112. Well, what are your final thoughts on this first round mock?
So to call the Devy Mastermind anything lower than a B plus is disrespectful. So I'm going to give you a B plus because while I think some of the order is out of order, in my opinion, but I think the names on here are correct, in my opinion. So I don't have an issue. And like I said, like Ryan Williams and Evan Stewart could be flipped, but again, they're not far off from each other. It's kind of like pick your poison and more of do you want to wait, what, 2 more years,
Years,
3 more years with Ryan Williams, or do you want the guy who's more than likely than not going to come out next year? Nessmeyer, I think, was a great pick there. I think Sellers belongs in the conversation for the top 12. But
Yep.
again, I think you're right with the question marks that you have. If something happens to him, does Nolan take his spot? Could that happen? I think that's a fair argument. But again, I think everybody here deserves this first round draft pick. It's just there's a few that I would switch. So B plus.
B plus. I appreciate it. No, I agree. And like I said, we'll do different mocks here, different grades here. That's the first one. Maybe I'll have you do a mock and you don't tell me, and then we'll grade them as well, and then we'll go from there. But no, I appreciate your feedback. I do agree with. Um, I was a little spicy on some of the picks. Like I said, I knew Evan Stewart as well. I knew taking Ryan Wingo
So
over Ryan Williams was big.
yeah, I
Um,
forgot to mention that one. I think it's spicy, but again, I think like we talked, he's in a wide open room now.
yeah,
With a quarterback that you mentioned with another first round pick and Arch Manning.
right.
I think it's a gamble, but it's probably the gamble you could take and feel pretty comfortable about it.
Right, for sure. And I was surprised on how heavy I went with the quarterbacks, but I think with next year's quarterback class and the freshman one, we have three top freshman quarterbacks. I feel like, and then that's still true to it. And then this next year's class, it's going to be pretty stacked at the quarterback position. So I felt okay, we're going to go in there and get these top guys, and then it's going to be depth out with wide receiver and running backs later. Arguably Singleton wasn't in there, right?
Mm.
So that was so it's like him and K-Tron, I still think it's good that they're there, but you can take them later. So
Yeah.
Nate Frazier, I think just with his youth and with what he showed as a freshman, I'm very high on him as far as running back capital. But yeah, um, that's all we have for today. Quick,
Can I
easy
ask you a
stuff.
quick question, real quick,
Yeah,
when it comes to
but
your Devy process? Obviously, you said a lot of quarterbacks in the first round for you. I know that is like a big fear for people when it comes to Devy is drafting a quarterback. Because, like I mentioned earlier, Malachi Nelson, I took him over Dante Moore, and that is looking worse and worse by the second.
right.
Um, do you think it's safer? Because I know we talk about in fantasy football is another thing that we don't talk or that we talk about with like rookie scouting is helmet scouting. Do you think it's almost safer to helmet scout the quarterbacks as opposed to taking like the wild card quarterbacks? Like, Malachi Nelson was a guy that went to what was it his first year USC. So
USC.
that's not really a good uh, option there. But Dante Moore went to UCLA, which is another decent school. Do you helmet scout a little bit more when it comes to the quarterback because you think that there's a possibility they have a chance to get developed better than the wild card guys?
The biggest thing for me here is no, I'm not necessarily a helmet guy. Now, obviously, if when Malachi Nelson went to Boise State, it dropped him down because he dropped in conference, right? So he went
Yeah,
to
for sure.
Mountain West rather than playing in the Pac-12 at that time. So that dropped him down. The only one where I could question here is Julian Sayin because we haven't seen him at that college level quite yet. We've seen bits and pieces, but he hasn't been full. Where Dante Moore, we've seen some of it. We've seen Garrett Nussbaum, we've seen DJ Lagway, we've seen Rayola. So we've seen these guys on tape. We've seen Arch Manning. Julian Sayin to me is the only one that's questioned, but I'm also plugging him into a Ohio State offense that has a Jeremiah Smith, a Cardinal Tate
Mhm.
there. So I'm not too concerned with him because I think as long as the system's there, it's just I do believe the talent's there for him too. So I don't have necessarily as many questions as that. You notice I don't have any freshman quarterbacks, so I don't have
Right.
Bryce
That's
Underwood
the
there.
yeah.
But that's where it begins to scare me is I don't want to have these freshmen guys see them there. Now again, saying the system's there. Underwood even there's not I don't know what to expect at Michigan. Who are their weapons going to be there, right? So it's like I don't see it there. If Underwood was at Ohio State, I'd put him over Julian Saint.
Mhm.
But we don't know what's there. So it's not let's say helmet scout. It's more so I need to see a little bit of them, or they just had to be in a position where it's like I think you're going to be the QB1, and if you are, there's no question on why you should fumble the bag here because the talent's around you. So that's
Right.
why I have it there for him.
That's fair.
Um, but yeah, not Helmet Scott because I do like the talent, but I want to see something in calls because the like we saw USC, UCLA, they have transferred after the first year, so it can help him. But these guys are there. They're gonna be there. Lagway, Rayola saying, and I love what I'm seeing in these three freshman quarter or these now sophomore quarterbacks, and I think they're only going to continue to elevate because they're quarterbacks I feel can make their wide receivers better.
Mhm.
Where other quarterbacks, it's like their wide receivers make them better. They can elevate the team in these three quarterbacks that we're talking about.
I got you. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense for sure.
But No, that was it. Good question there. I appreciate you. Give me a grade B plus there because I have the right people. I just don't have the right places, and sometimes that's how it works. So I appreciate that. Until next time for the FFU, and join us on the Devy Planet. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels. We have shows coming out for y'all. Just talk about mock drafts. Follow our guy Jeremy at ATR as well. He's doing mock drafts there all the time as well. But until next time, for myself, SC Romero, the Devy Mastermind, the dog himself, Mike. Of Dynasty Dogs. Until next time, we'll talk to y'all later. Thanks for joining.